Are you planning a remodel and trying to determine what choices add the best value to the project? Well, at the risk of sounding like your attorney, I'll tell you, it depends. I'm JR at Steady. If you're new here, don't worry, I'll explain what you're getting into. If you're not new, you know that we cover a few things on the channel. One being kind of a breakdown of decisions and why we do the things we do, both from a business and from a homeowner standpoint. You'll also know that we do some flip projects internally for ourselves where we buy properties, renovate them, and resell them. We do handyman jobs, that's kind of our main bread and butter. And we've recently added our remodel division where we offer custom remodel projects for homeowners and clients. And so today, I want to compare and contrast, do a little breakdown of choices that we make on remodels, both from an investment standpoint and from a homeowner standpoint, because those are two very different things and they get confused, I would say, a lot of times, especially when you live in the home and you start talking about maximizing value and resale potential, and it's just not as simple as that statement right there. They break down pretty differently. Now, I want to hit you with a few disclaimers. I'm not a designer. I'm not telling you you should put certain things in your home with this video, and I'm definitely not a licensed real estate agent. So anything I mention about the market or reselling or values or any of that should be taken as my opinion only. And you should go find your own local real estate agent to discuss options for your property and what sells better. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the two different types of renovations. If I'm a homeowner doing a renovation, and if I'm an investor buying a property to make updates to then resell the home. You could in fact be both of those. You could be the homeowner who is making updates while they live there to then resell pretty soon. Now I would argue that if you're a homeowner and you say, hey look, you come to Steady and you talk to us about doing a renovation, and we ask you, hey, what are your goals here? Like, how long do you plan to live here? How long have you been thinking about this? And you say, well, this is gonna be our home for a while. We plan to be here 10 plus years, okay? I'm going to tell you that it is irrelevant what may resell in the future the best, to a degree. If you're gonna be there that long, you need to do what you want to do. What is it that's in your heart, that's your vision that you wanna make happen? We'll make the vision happen. We're gonna be there to make sure everything hits the code the right way and it jives the way it should. But if you're gonna be there that long, you need to live with what you wanna live with, not what you think the masses would enjoy. Now, if you came to us and said, hey guys, I'm planning on doing this remodel and then selling the home in the next 1 to 2 years, then I would say we probably ought to pay attention to trends a little bit more. Now remember, if it's just a bathroom we're talking about, and we're talking about a paint color, you can fix a paint color pretty quick. So you could still get what you want and then still repaint it and it wouldn't be out a ton of money. We should just probably discuss that. Now, when we go back to that 10-year example, if we're gonna live there, now if you're talking about reconfiguring a home to have a spiral staircase with a slide that comes off the banister and fire sirens every time you walk through a certain door, like a Pee Wee Herman style house, then that may not be the best idea to do if you wanna resell, unless you plan on turning this into an attraction, which that excites me. Call me and we'll talk about it. You have to, within reason, right? I can't cover all those details in one video. So you still have to do some things within reason, but when you talk about paint colors and tile and all that, I don't care what anybody says. Argue with me in the comments if you'd like. Nobody can predict what the style is gonna be in 10 years, so do what you want. And resell, we'll worry about that when it comes time to it, right? Now, if you're an investor, this is the difference in an investor property versus the one you live in. If I'm buying a property like the one I'm standing in right now that we are going to renovate and then resell, where we've taken the walls down, we're redoing all the cabinets, all the tile, everything's being touched, right? If I'm doing that, I've really got to consider the masses whenever I stick this house back on the market. So when you buy a property as an investor to resell, you're doing this for a profit. You want to make money. And the only way to make money is to be able to, there's a lot of ways in the flip, but selling it quickly, getting a lot of eyeballs on it, gaining some attraction around it once it hits the market. This is where an agent comes into play who sells a lot of houses, can tell you, hey, this is what people are looking for in this particular zip code, in this particular neighborhood. So when I walk in this house, there may be certain things that I just If it were mine, I would do them a little different. You know, I may have done this counter setup just a little bit different. I may have done the vent hood a little bit different. I may have chosen a different color than what's initially gonna go on these walls, but I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it not for me personally. Now, me as the contractor, me as the investor gets a different filter where I start learning what the market likes and what I know is gonna sell well. And so JR, the remodeler for the investor property, has a pretty good filter for what I like in those properties. Now, what I want to put in my personal house may still be different. The more custom you get with a renovation for an investor, the smaller the box of buyer you're putting that thing in, right? So when you talk about appealing to the masses, you still do quality work, you're still picking quality fixtures and good paint and all the things, and it still has a custom element to it, but it's not custom. Like it's got to appeal to 80% of the people out there. You're going to have a tougher time, or your agent's going to have a tougher time explaining this house and why it functions the way it does. I'll give you an example. Not on this particular house, but on another one that I'm currently working on. We were really talking through an office, a home office setup, and I think a bonus room. There was 2 rooms we were just really talking about really hard, and I was digging my heels in on this particular property, on this particular setup, and I have a partner in this property. Thank goodness, this is where a good partner comes in, and he finally says, hey, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for everybody else? You keep saying you would want this, but you're not buying the house. And he was exactly right. So that's the difference in an investor remodel and what we would call a retail or a homeowner remodel. And so as the homeowner, you do get to take some artistic liberties, more so than you would as a flipper. Flipping houses and us remodeling for flip houses is probably not what you picture on TV. It is not knocking down every wall and getting completely custom with the tile and all that. You got to find something that works and that sells and put that in there, okay? Still very fun. You still get to have some design choices, but not like you're doing a custom. And then again, if you're living there and your sole purpose is to do maybe what we would call a live-in flip, whether you know that's what it is or not, you are living in the home and you're gonna do your remodel to your bathroom and then sell this thing within a year, we really need to pay attention to what the market wants. And we need to remodel for that. Now, we could probably debate in the comments, healthy debate, and I would love to with somebody, about certain design elements that are timeless. Like there may be some design work inside of a home, and it doesn't matter if you did it 15 years ago or in 15 years, those things are gonna transcend all the decades. If so, awesome, run with that. But if you're wanting to do a custom renovation and you are gonna sell pretty soon, you probably need to pay attention to what the trends are if you're going outside of that classic scope. Again, 10 to 15 years down the road, I don't think you have to worry about that near as much. Now, what you should definitely not do is not do the renovation because you can't make a decision. That analysis paralysis is a real thing. And let me tell you one thing that hurts my heart a lot when I am buying properties from people, and we hear it a lot, and we hear it in Steady a lot too, going to do maybe renovation takeoffs. People have waited 20 years to do this. Even if they had the money, they just never did it because they got stuck in this, well, what if we resell, and what if we this, what if we that? Well, then they spent 20 years and never did anything. And then they had to live in a house looking at it daily going, I wish I'd have done that. And I could have done it, I just didn't do it. Same thing happens when I walk properties with people to purchase them, to do the renovations that they really wanted to do. It hurts to hear them there's almost some regret in there, some sadness sometimes about, man, I just really wish we would have done these things. And you can hear them, because I always ask, hey, what would you do? What were you thinking when you lived here? Because they've lived with it for 20 years. They know what they would have done different, right? There's doors that get in the way of each other that they would love to rework the room. And so I'll hear them talk about the stuff they want to do, and their eyes light up talking about what they wish they would have done the whole time. And it's almost this weird tipping point. It's almost like halfway through the walkthrough, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to talk them into keeping the house and just doing the remodel through Steady, and they're just going to get to keep it, which is fine. You know, we all win, but it just is, it's a little sad to hear that happen and go, man, they really wish they'd have done that and didn't get to. So if nothing else sticks out of this, if you're hearing this video and you're a homeowner and you're in your home now and you're thinking about it, or you have been thinking about it for long enough, do it. Let us come out and just do a takeoff with you and talk about what it looks like. Because 9 times out of 10, when you put a number to it, go back and listen to our budget video. When you finally put a number to something and put the scope on the table and get to really talking about the project, it's not near as scary as it may seem in your head. And having a good contractor and or designer on your team to just help cut through some of the thinking that we do every day and make it less scary, less complicated, it doesn't take as much as you think to get one going. And I'll give you an example of my own personal house. Years ago, we had talked about forever. We've lived in our house 11 years, and we wanted a screened-in porch. Kept talking about wanting to do one. We already had the pad poured, like we're part of the way there. You know, had a little vinyl top that went out over it, right? It just didn't have any sides, and it wasn't real big. We debated that had to be 8 years of living in that house. It's a long time to think about it, right? Time flies. We finally did it, and what was holding us back, I think, was the cost. Like, oh, we don't want to, even if the money's there, we don't want to spend the money. Oh no, but like, what if we move? And what if we could have used that money for something? Okay, whatever. Well, we had moved. It's been 11 years, we've still been there. So 3 years ago, we pulled the trigger and did the screened-in porch. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Ask me how many times we've missed that money or thought about how much we spent. Not one time. Not one single time have we gone, oh, I wish we could get that money back. No, we are excited every time we walk on that porch. We had a gathering last weekend for a friend's baby shower. We got to spill over and use that space. People talked about how cool it was. Like, we still are loving that porch, probably even more than the day we spent the money. So to round this out, 2 things to remember. If you're considering a remodel, there's a difference in doing one for an investor and doing one for you personally. For the masses, for you. Now there's a sub-bullet point A for if you live in the home and are selling within a year or so, you may want to consider trends like we would as a flipper. But if you plan to be there for any duration, especially if this is your forever home, forget the masses. You do it for you. It'll be up to your family to figure it out one day what they can do with the home for the masses. Now, if you got questions, if you disagree, want to fuss, cuss, or discuss, please drop a comment, like, subscribe, all the things. Make sure you stay in touch with us. We want to make content for you too. If you got some suggestions or questions, I'd love to hear them. Until next time, I'm out.